So joining me now today is two-time challenge champion Tori Hall. Thank you for joining me today, Tori.
Hi, I'm excited, Mike.
Me
Thanks for
too. I
having me.
look forward to doing this.
Yeah.
So I read that you were Miss Virginia. Was that before or after your real world? And did that kind of play into your casting process?
Both. So I was Miss Virginia Teen in 2005. I got cast in 2007. And then I was Miss Virginia USA in 2008. So I went back on the show twice after I competed at Miss USA.
Oh wow, yeah. So did that is that kind of what you told them when you were auditioning that
Yeah, it was one of the things that was in my casting video. But I went to a casting call with my roommates, and I wasn't. I don't know. I feel like I've told this story a million times, so stop me if you've heard it. But I drove my college roommates to a casting, and so and they came and got me from the parking lot.
Oh
So
wow. Yeah,
yeah,
I think I read heard that on Challenge Mania with Derek
yeah,
and that's funny.
yeah. So.
So your real Road Rules season was the last season of Road Rules that they did, and it wasn't, really perceived as like the greatest Road Rules season. So now I'm gonna kind of like pose the question to you. Do you kind of wish that you had done the real world as opposed to the Road Rules, or do you not really regret that?
No, I don't regret that. That I don't. We got to do some really cool stuff on my road rule season. I always say that my dream challenge would be to do all the cool stuff and not um, it not be recorded. The viewership was down on Viewers Revenge, and that's okay with me because we got to do some amazing things. I mean, I performed in Cirque du Soleil. We played in Qualcomm Stadium with the San Diego Chargers. We met Stone Cold Steve Austin and went on like a premiere to a premiere event, like met the cast of The Office. I mean, we did so many cool things that they don't get to do in the real world, and I would like to do more challenges and less drama. And so I don't care if it's,
Yeah.
Was the viewership was high or not.
Yeah, it kind of seems like they gave you guys like more, cool opportunities to do on the Road Rules as opposed to Real World, where it's more of like a Jersey Shore type vibe when they're all just in a house, like drinking and doing whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's all a party, and I didn't party at the time, so I really wasn't the perfect cast. I still don't party, but it really wasn't the perfect cast for me.
Mm-hmm. What about like your knowledge of the challenge before, going on your first one, which was the Gauntlet 3? Did you were you a fan of the challenge, or did you like have any awareness of like what it was going into it?
No, I didn't. The first challenge I watched was the Duel 1, and it was because they made us watch it in our casting videos. So I knew I had watched Road Rules before. I watched Kendall's season, so Campus Crawl. Loved it. Thought it was great. It's the only one I've ever watched, but I just remember thinking that looks so much fun. And but had no like recollection of the challenge or didn't know anybody on it. But then they made us blog about it during my casting process, so I watched the Duel 1.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what about going into Cutthroat? Because for me, I think that I like the Cutthroat format a lot with the whole three team, and I think a lot of fans would agree with me. What are your thoughts on the Cutthroat format with the three team?
I loved it. I think that's a great format. I also like the Rookies vs. Veteran format. I'm not a big fan of these. I just like these like um, like pair challenges or things like that because I think you're not responsible for your own. I think there's less gameplay, and I love the gameplay part of it. So I think that, as far as the 3-team or the 2-team, like large teams, I think that to me is fun. I like the duel. I think if you talk to a lot of the guys, they'll say, the duel, bring back the duel. But I really like the team thing. I think it's a lot of strategy involved in that, and it's fun. So
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, what about the elimination when it was you and Tina, and then Teresa and Tina, which was the same elimination, obviously, where Johnny and CT were going at it. Talk to me a little bit about how you think you and Teresa, if you guys were to go up against each other, would have played out. Because I think that's an interesting matchup that a lot of fans were hoping we would have saw.
yeah, Teresa's scrappy and she's tall. She's got about 3 inches on me, or 2 to 3 inches. She's really tall. She has some long legs, and that was all about. And she's got a lot of stamina, so it would have been a lot longer in the dirt. Whereas Tina and I were like 2 minutes. So, and I'm a really good like sprinter. As far as like short term, I would not do great at these finals that they have now that are like 3 days long. I'd be like, I'm out. But which is why I was nervous about that final there. I mean, I think that final was like the equivalent of a marathon in 106-degree heat. I just don't train for that. Like that's not how I'm wired. So I think it would have been a very close race. My heart wasn't in it, to be honest with you, at that point in the game. It was like week late, like 6 or something. And so I was like, I'm ready. I knew I wanted Brad to win that. And I was just like, okay, let's get this over with. So I got really lucky, I think, going against Tina versus, Teresa, because Teresa was there and she would train every day. So it looked very different than Tina, who's at home, hanging out and not training and not in challenge mindset.
Right. So obviously that's the same elimination that one of the most like iconic moments in challenge history most people refer to with CT and Johnny. What was it like being in person for the CT Johnny elimination? And was it actually like as epic in person as it was for viewers watching at home?
Yeah, I remember thinking, what in the world just happened? Like I cannot believe. I mean, the size difference is very great. I mean, you can see it, and even CT at that point, I mean, versus Tyler was, I mean, their sizes are more equal, but it still wasn't like, I mean, it wasn't like a Johnny. It was 8.6 seconds or something. But yeah, watching, I was like, I cannot believe that just happened. And Johnny was so mad and he just like walked off. Yeah, but at that point, like Johnny was at the height of his like obnoxiousness. So
Right.
it was kind of like, it's karma.
Yeah. Now I've heard that like the Tyler CT one, they let go on longer. Was there like any truth to that? Did they keep letting Tyler and CT go at it?
Yeah, Tyler didn't want it to end, but which actually set him up to be really sore for the final, because it went CT Tyler and he fought it. He was just doing it for like, hey, I'm going to show that I'm strong and I can do this. And he hung in there with him. Like they were closer to CT side, but it was 30, 40 minutes. I mean, he hung in there for a long time. So it was a long time. And then they just stopped him before, but he then went against Derek. We had that like riot act is what it was called. And we had to like use the riot gear to like get people off. And he was sore from that because it was the very next day. And then after that, he went against Derek. So he was he was really beat up. So by the time he got to the final, he was like exhausted.
Mm-hmm. So talk to me a little bit about like your political game that season, because you guys maybe what's not like a popular political play by fans, but obviously a smart one considering, you guys got yourself to the end. You guys won. Brad didn't see an elimination. You only saw one. And that last guy's elimination, correct me if I'm wrong, it was basically kind of like almost Brad's turn to go in, but then Tyler ended up going in again. How did
Oh,
that?
it was totally Brad's turn to go in. Um, we pulled rank at that point and just said, look, Dunbar, it's either Tyler or you. So you pick. And Dunbar smart and was like, I'm gonna ride this one out. Tyler, sorry, bud. Because we had 2 votes. So all we had to do was swing one way or the other. We knew Tyler was hurting. Like it or not, it's a game, and I always say, like, the ones where it's like keep it, take it, or keep it. I'm like, I love Tyler dearly. I have not seen him since Cutthroat in 2010. So, if you're like looking at like that, and that's how I go and I play it like that. I'm like, I don't see these people in my everyday life, if it was somebody like a Kendall who I'm really close with, like, I'd play it differently. But when you're talking about people that you don't like really do life with, I think it's a different game. So yeah, we played very cutthroat at the end. We slid under the radar. They were stupid from the beginning to put a married couple on the same team. I mean, we're gonna always vote together. It's 2 votes right there against your 1. It's just not smart. But it was great for us.
Now, how differently do you think things play out had Dunbar not swayed your way, and then you got Dunbar going in there against Derek? Obviously, that elimination was more catered towards size. Do you still see your 4 people coming back intact if Dunbar goes in there against Derek?
Yeah. Derek was really, really beat up from that riot act because he had there was like 4 guys still on the I think it was not the blue team, we were the red team, the gray team. Mm-hmm. And so we had 3 guys, they had 4, and Derek was the 1. And so they were going to beat up on him no matter what. So he was really, I mean, he went round after round there and just got beat up. So I think at that point anybody would have beat him. I just didn't want to take the risk of Brad going in that close, because that's been Brad's story forever, is that he would go in the elimination before the final, lose, and then not won. So
yeah. Now, did you feel more satisfied with your Cutthroat win or your Gauntlet 3 win?
Oh, Cutthroat. I mean, I liked winning as a rookie. It was great. And I met Brad, so I was like on a high. It was my rookie season. I went into eliminations, but Cutthroat, there was a lot of strategy involved, and I played a very good political game that was not popular, but it got both of us to the end. So.
Mm-hmm. Now, staying on the topic of Cutthroat, not anything game related, but I've seen a lot of people speculate and think that the Cutthroat house was haunted, and I've asked a couple of people that I've had on, so I want to hear your perspective on if you felt the house you guys were living in was haunted or not.
Okay, I am not into that stuff at all. Kendall would have loved it. It was absolutely haunted, though. Like, that house was creepy.
Wow. Did you have like any personal things that you saw from being in there?
Yeah, I didn't see anything. But at night you would hear this, like, I mean, people would be sleeping, and I would go to sleep first. But if you got up and like went to the bathroom or did something like that, you could hear this like slapping noise against, like, it was like we were in jail, because it was like a cinder block walls. It wasn't like normal walls. But it was like, and you would hear this like slapping against the wall. It was loud, like nobody was doing it. It was like everybody was asleep. Production was shut down. It was not for like a show. It was like creepy.
Yeah. So now talk to me a little bit about Dan Walsh kind of brought it to my attention. It was the story about you playing the piano of the Michael Jackson Free Willy song, and then they played like a whole little prank on you guys. Talk to me about that.
Wait, I don't remember the prank. I just remember me teaching Chet and Abram and Kara how to play. I've played piano since I was a kid, so I don't remember the prank. What was the prank?
Yeah, yeah, he said something about like he rallied like some of the people in the house, and they were gonna have like Dunbar dress up as like a whale or something, and like perform like a whole routine when
Oh no, it wasn't a prank. It was a skit. They had like this whole, I mean, then they made up this new song and it was like, I don't remember it, but they made it up like all these extra words and we were really bored in that house. I mean, the things that we did in that house were like so dumb. But we had a blast. It was good. So,
Mm-hmm. Now, what was your coming back on Vendettas after all those years of being off?
I wasn't on Vendettas.
No, I'm saying like, what was your opinion on Brad coming back to Vendetta?
Oh, I was like, I haven't been on since 2010. I think it's great. I think Brad is like wired for these shows. I think it's, he he loves them. I mean, I think it's fun. It's a good time. But I mean, I don't know. I'd like to see Brad win on his own. Who knows? So yeah, I think it's great. Have him go back.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What about if, say, you were back? What format would you, desire to be on?
Not pairs. I just don't want to be tied to someone else and their game and the way that they communicate and the way they speak and the way that they play like the game. I want to play my own game, win, lose, or draw. Like I just don't want to be responsible for someone else. I would love a like dual theme or like a team theme where I could play within like politically within the team. Here's the thing, it would look very different now. I mean, it's been 10 years since I have been on. I don't know these kids. Like I mean, and I say kids loosely, but and some of them are older than me, the new kids, but I just started so young. But you can't play a political game when you don't do life with these people. So I don't know. It would look very different if I could come back now. And my perspective on things are a lot different. So than most of these people are, it's their career, it's their life. And mine's not. And so I don't know how great of TV or what that would look like now. Just because things have changed.
Mm-hmm. That was actually going to lead into my topic. I was going to ask you, what's your like how the challenge has evolved since you first started and you've last been there? Because obviously, when you first got into road rules and like your original challenge, social media wasn't like as prominent as it is now and plays like obviously a much larger part into the challenge now. Whereas around Cutthroat time, Twitter and Facebook had like just started coming around. I don't even think Instagram was really around around Cutthroat time. So how different do you feel as though the challenge is now, and what's your thoughts on like how it's evolved?
Yeah, I said this then. I think that people went on to play a part. And now, even from before, I mean, when you think back to Brad's Real World days, I think they just went on and they lived their lives and people loved them or hated them for it. And now I think people go on to be a certain person or a certain character, and that's hard for me because some of the people that I do know in real life, and then you get on camera with them and they're completely different, or you see them on camera and you're like, that's not who you are, and that's just not how I operate. So that's a tough one for me. But as far as like social, see, I did my whole season. Granted, people didn't watch. People did. That was the beginning of people starting to write back and respond, and we had to receive hate mail or mail that they loved us, and we responded back and forth to it, and it was really difficult at the time because I don't understand, and I'm so thankful I don't understand not like hating someone that you don't know. And you get so much of that. And I always said this. I said this on Challenge Mania with Derek. I said, don't put me on a pedestal because there's only one way to go from there. And I feel like no matter what, I mean, we all love Diem dearly. And I think there was one season she came back and she was like, I'm never going back. Like, that was terrible. And she got a bad edit. And I remember thinking, like, and people were writing her, Diem, who we love. Like, it's not like, it's crazy to me that, and I remember, I mean, some people have had a bad episode. Nobody has gone on reality TV and not had a bad episode. Um, and people have eaten them alive for it. And it makes it worse. I always say, like, do you want to be judged by your worst moment? And people never forget it. I mean, people, not to bring this up, but people will never, I mean, Brad's fight was like 11 years ago. People to this day still bring it up, and it's like, let it go. Like, do you want somebody, he's evolved as a person, like, what do you, I mean, I don't know. I just think people are so harsh on people that they don't know in real life. And that's difficult to watch, because people that I love and care about, I have watched them, like, slowly deteriorate as people, because, I mean, I've seen it with Marie. I mean, people ate Marie alive, and then they loved her, and then they hated her, and then they go back, and, like, I just don't, like, that's not good for anybody's psyche. Like, do these shows, take them with a grain of salt, like, watch them for entertainment, but then, like, move on, And I think that's probably the biggest deterrent of me going back at this point, is that I have 2 kids that I'm raising, and I have a job, and I just don't know that that's good for all of us. And at this point, my decisions are for 3 and not 1, like they are when I was 20, 21. So
Right. Yeah, it's definitely like a double-edged sword with the challenge, reality television doing it, because you get fans who, like to formulate opinions on, cast members that they haven't even met a day in their life. So it's almost like, they're painting this image of you, and it sucks, like, for, cast members with fellow cast members who they say, in your case, as you just previously mentioned, with someone like, Marie or Brad, like, these people personally. So it's like, it sucks for you to see, having known these people, but,
yeah.
That's kind of the position that reality TV puts, you in, by going and doing it.
And it's a great, like, I've visited some of the coolest places. I've done some amazing things. I do not regret one thing, one trip, one saying yes. Like, I don't regret it. I have loved I mean, there's been moments within the shows that I've hated, but I got to do some really cool stuff. I have 2 amazing kids. Like, I really cannot speak poorly about MTV or the show or anything like that. Like, I have met some of my best friends because of this. However, I just think, like, the hate that I see, I mean, people can't breathe these days without just, like, somebody having a problem with it, or hurting someone, or offending someone, or whatever it may be. It's just like, they can't. And so it's such a tight line to walk, that it just made it very different these days.
Right. So I'm sure you're aware that, like, fans find out, have, like, spoilers and whatnot, and they can see, like, who's going to be on season, like, well before it airs. And back in October for this season currently airing, your name actually popped up on the cast list. And I think Kendall was kind of feeding into it a little bit with fans who were asking her on Twitter, like, because I think that week you weren't, like, totally active on Twitter, so everyone thought, like, oh, was there any, so I'm going to ask you now, was there any truth to the rumor that you were on this current season of the show?
No. I'm never. I didn't show up as a mercenary, nothing. It was actually something not related. I didn't even know when leave date was. When Brad's not on it, like, I don't really have a lot of information about, like, when they're leaving or anything like that, because I have no need to. So no, I did not. I wasn't on there. It was actually something not even related to the show. It was something with one of our kids, and I just kind of got off social for a bit, and I think it was like a month that I was off. When I came back, I was like, oh my gosh. Um, not not the case. I mean, it was great. The love was great. The messages were great. It was, but just no truth to it.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was actually kind of excited, but it wasn't even out of the realm of possibility, because two of arguably the most dominant girls on this season are actually the same age as you. So it's like you're technically a vet, but you're like on the younger side, you know what I mean? Like, so it wasn't something out of the.
Yeah, like I said, I was a baby when I started this. I mean, I was 19. Everybody on that season of like Real World Australia and Road Rules, well, no, a couple of the road rulers. I was definitely the youngest on, but I mean, they were considering me for Real World Australia. So, but they gave us the option of what we would prefer, and I had put road rules. So, um, I don't know where I was going with this. I forgot. But anyway, I was super young when I started this. I mean, I was cast on my 19th birthday and went from there. So.
Mhm. So now I know you haven't done like an official challenge with Wes, but what are your thoughts on his and Bananas' partnership for this season? I'm sure you're aware of that they came together this season.
I'm not. I have not watched. I'm terrible. I know I need to. But I am Team Wes always. Like I don't know what character they portray him to be. Wes is one of the most stand-up men from these shows. Wes was in my wedding. He is just a great guy all around. And so I did a challenge mania with Wes. I just really like him. Him and Brad are friends. Like I will always side with Wes. So if he made a deal with the devil, that's on him.
Now, what are your thoughts on them pulling from a larger casting pool and now bringing on, the UK Big Brother, Survivor, shows like that? Because it obviously was always, the real world road rules, and I see a lot of fans, especially, as of late, like, like highly requesting them go back to just casting, real worlders. So what is your thoughts on them now casting and bringing in all these other networks and shows?
Yeah, I think it's great. Honestly, like I'm a Big Brother fan. I think it should go both ways. I'd love to do Survivor, so or Amazing Race with like Kendall or something. So that I think it's great. Bring them on. I mean, or like the UK, it gets kind of annoying. So I'm like, it's not even airing over there. I don't think. Maybe it is. But yeah, no, I don't. I don't care. I think it's great. I like the Big Brother. As long as like a real like I think they're doing like fake Big Brothers now too. Like I don't think they're real like they were like online only or something. I don't know. But I think it's great.
Right.
You know who I don't think it's fair to bring? Like I think he makes for good TV, but like Turbos of the world, he's like isn't he some like amazing athlete or something? I don't know. Like you can't compete with that. So just think it's that's a little unfair.
One season was like insane. You had like the final that was like 34 miles, I think, or something like that. And, like they were in the desert. Like,
or that ninja chick. Like this girl competes in like for $1 million and works out all day every day. Like how do you expect somebody who is like has a job as a nurse to come in and compete with that? Like or like go. I don't know. I just I just don't. That's a rough matchup.
yeah. Were there any like close calls for you in terms of since Cutthroat? Any challenges that you were like really strongly considering or like almost thought about going on to?
Invasion. It just was at the wrong time in my life. But yes, Invasions was one of them. I was really close to going back right after Brad went back. So I don't know, not Vendettas. It would have been
Final Reckoning, maybe.
Mm-hmm. And then there was a champ season that I was like,
All right, yeah.
really going. And it just didn't work out. But which it all has worked out how it's supposed to. But yeah.
Hmm. What was it like doing the Universal Studios challenge that you just recently did? I think it was last year.
So fun. Like I always say, my favorite thing about if it's like I get to do cool stuff in cool places with my friends, and so it's not about the money to me. The money's nice. After taxes and all of that, it's like, what does it really boil down to? So the money's great, but it's just like getting to do cool stuff, and the kids thought it was so cool. So yeah.
Hmm. Do you think that, like, since I'm just gonna allude to Derek and Darrell, since they were obviously there at the Universal Studio, do you think that those two guys deserve like another shot to go on like an actual season? Considering, like, obviously from a performance standpoint, like, there's no debate, but there's a new criteria. It feels like
Yeah.
amongst the production, they like to cast, people that are more talk than walk. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I do. And those guys are both like stand-up guys. I just think, and I don't know this group of men competing now. I just know that like the group back then was such stand-up guys. Like Derek is amazing, Wes is amazing, Darrell, such a good guy. Like they're just a solid group of guys that are like good competitors. They make for good TV. It's not all about like who they're hooking up with or what they're doing. It's just good, solid TV. And so I do. I think that would be great casting. I think the fans want to see it. I can't tell you how many times I hear in my DMs or in my, everyday passing, they're like, we want to see the old school people back. We want to see the old school people back. It's like, I want to see them back. Like, I think it would be so great. I would watch that. Like, you want to put the newbies on, great, but like, bring some of like the really strong. I mean, those were strong athletes, like your Landons of the world. I know we haven't heard that name in a while, but like Landon, Brad, Bananas is still a strong dude. Like it's just like those guys are solid guys. Even the girls, like they're just, it looks different. Like we're not bodybuilders, but we have, we had there were some strong chicks, that I would put up against a lot of these new kids. So I think that, it would be a good matchup if they did like an old school, new school, but I don't know if they'll ever do it, but I think it would be a great idea.
Yeah, believe it or not. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean.
No, you're fine. I only have like 5 more minutes.
Okay.
But we can.
Yeah, believe it or not,
we can chat.
I read that. The initial pitched idea for this current season was actually supposed to be old school versus new school, but production and kind of like scrapped the idea because they didn't think that it would do too well rating wise. But I don't know.
I think it would be. I think you know what, here's the problem is that a lot of the old school people, like your Rachels of the world. I mean, Rachel has 2, maybe 3 kids now. Like Kendall has 3 kids. Like it's just, I have 2. It's a lot of us, like Paula has 3. It's a lot of us who were in it before. It would have to look very different now for all of us to get back. I mean, Johanna has 1, Melinda has a kid. Like it's just it just is very different for a bunch of old school females versus, to come back. So I don't know what that would look like as far as the female cast. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on Jordan and Tori?
Oh, I think they're cute. I actually met. I love Tori. I think I've always said that since the beginning. I think she's. If I have to pass the baton with my name onto somebody on these shows, she can take it.
Right.
I'm good with that. I think they're cute. I'm a advocate for reality TV love. I think that it's a great story, as long as you don't get caught up in it. And yeah, I I like their story. I think they're both very laid back people who have really found love in a crazy place.
Right, yeah. So if you had to say, in your opinion now, for guys, well, you might have some biased interest because you're obviously a competitor, but who would you say would be your top guy competitor and top girl competitor?
Like to be on a team.
Like in terms of who you feel is like the best competitor to ever compete on the show.
Oh, ever. I'm gonna say Rachel's probably the best girl competitor to ever compete on the show. I mean, even now with these girls, Ninja or any of those girls, I'd say Rachel scares me to go into elimination. Guys, I'm gonna say Wes. And this is why. Wes is good both with mental and physical. And we all have bad days. We can all lose. But I think that he has it both. And there's not a lot of guys on this show. There's a lot of like brute strength that a lot of these guys have. But a lot of them lack the puzzles. Johnny can't do a puzzle if you gave him the key to it. And I think he's strong. Like, I don't hate Johnny. And he's super smart and strategic wise, but you have to have all three to say that you're like the toughest guy to ever play. I don't know how Darrell is with puzzles, so I can't say, but I know for a fact that Wes is solid with puzzles. So
yeah, someone I think a lot of fans think is one of the greatest, and I would love to see back is Landon.
Yeah,
and it's a shame we never got to see him go up against Johnny at all. They were never on a season together, believe it or not. As hard as that is to believe, because it feels like Johnny's on every season, you know.
Yeah, Landon would totally eat Johnny alive physically. But Landon is why I say he's not the greatest of all time is because he's not a good political player. He doesn't he just rides under the radar and gets there, and that's kind of his thing, and he's quiet. So I guess that's good. But he just doesn't have that like edge. There's not much gameplay or strategy. He's just like, yeah, I'm strong and you have to beat me, and that's that, you know? So, but like strategic wise, not very smart. It's how Brad beat him in that thing on the duel. So too.
Yeah, that's true. That was quite the show.
Yeah.
What about CT?
CT's great. Not great with puzzles. Great. Like Dan used to have to practice puzzles with him all the time. It's funny. But he can do a puzzle. He's just not great at it. I mean, he's got brute strength, but Brad beat him in that technicality. He's another one that will use his brute strength, and then rip a flag at the end instead of taking it off, or whatever may happen. Like sometimes he's lost really dumb eliminations based on or the fact that he can't, keep his temper under control sometimes. And so I think it's just as much a mental game as it is a physical game, 100%. Right. And I was never great at the mental aspect. By week 4 or 5, I was like, I gotta go. So
yeah. So now I gotta throw in this question, obviously, for fans, because they'll always want me to ask this. Say if you were to get a call, tomorrow, what would that look like for you in terms of your desire to go back?
Yeah, right now I would say no. I mean, that could change 6 months from now. It was a different answer 6 months, but right now I'm working. I have my dream job. I'm working with Amazon, and the boys are in a really good space, and I'm really happy. So right now, no. But that doesn't mean, I'm still young. So
yeah.
doesn't mean that we don't have some time.
Right. Well, it was a pleasure getting to speak with you today. This was a ton of fun. I look forward to
Yeah.
uploading this. Thank you for
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mike. Great day.
you too. Take care.
Joining. All right. Bye, Mike.